This is the City Council Finance Subcommittee for November 12th, 2015. Minutes from the prior meeting, Councilor Rist, you said you'll have yours for the 18th.
Yeah, there's very
of the
few
next.
minutes, I just
Yeah.
didn't get to them because there was very
And
little to do.
Councilor Kwasinski will entertain a motion on
Move the
the
minutes for the 12th.
and I'll second that. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. 2-0 on that. I know Dan had to abstain because he wasn't there. Mayor's communication, none, Mayor, right?
I'm gonna forego that.
Public speak, anyone here from the public that needs to speak? Okay. If I could, maybe we could do just the one supplemental appropriation because Captain has been here, the police captain has been here for a whole hour with public safety, so I'd like to get his out of the way, and then we'll go to old business, and then back to the chief for his two fire cars. So, Captain Alberti, if you would like to...
Which one are we doing?
We're gonna do the police vehicles, $42,692 for a marked police vehicle to replace the Crown Vic.
That's a newer one.
Right.
Yeah.
Captain, I guess I know Chief McMahon sent a letter basically saying that you're replacing one of the last four. How many more of the Ford Crown Vics do we have?
After this, we'll have 2 left in the line.
2 left, so that'll be...
How is that?
And I know there's a problem getting some of these now. Is it going to be a...
Do you mind if I keep this?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Oh,
So
I can make
essentially,
this copy, but here you can at least
the
have that in your meeting.
$42,692 number,
Yeah,
that is based off a quote, a March quote. There hasn't been any new quotes that we can draw from. The issue is that Ford, the plant, is so backed up, we can't get these cars to MHQ, which is our reseller. You know, they mark up our cars and equip them. MHQ can't get a Ford out of the plant. They're so backed up. We have one now that we've been waiting for since, I want to say early summer. I could be wrong on that.
It was like
Yeah.
the May, June time.
So we can only push so fast and so hard to get these cars out of the plant, and they're not really listening to us either.
probably not the biggest.
Yeah, no, they have bigger problems than us. So car 9, the one that we're replacing, the odometer has been stuck for a very long time. Motor repair hasn't had any luck trying to fix it. At 88,000 miles, and it's a 2009. The reality is, I have a 2011 equivalent to that car with 108,000 miles. So this car, if the odometer was working, is going to probably be somewhere in the neighborhood of 120,000 miles, somewhere in that neighborhood. The oldest car in the fleet as we stand, and rather than trading in this car, I talked to the chief this afternoon, rather than trading it in, we would probably recommend giving it to another department to use. And I know, we talked to the finance director, I know that there was some conversation about getting an old Crown Vic from the water plant.
We've been recycling all our vehicles because we have a lot of departments that need them, inspectors.
Right. So
and-
rather than trading it
Right.
in, we're going to turn
Right.
it back over to
Right.
the city. And the only thing I can stress again is, we're putting in for the $42,692. Whatever is above and beyond that, when we get a newer quote, we'll deal with it at the time, but I'm sure that's probably going to come by way of offsetting it with drug forfeiture. I'm guessing we've done that in the past, but I'm just not sure exactly what the chief has in mind there, but I'm assuming that's what it is.
And I know we were doing 2 and 1 at one point, but we've got a few cars through that drug thing, so I mean, are we...
Yeah, I have,
We have-
You're happy the way we're...
The one that they're waiting for, Dan, is the one where they paid for most of it up, it was the split, some of
Right.
the city, it was actually funds that they had in their department,
Right.
and also drug forfeiture, which they were able to be able to utilize that,
Yeah.
a portion of it.
and the
So
chief itemized.
That's the vehicle they're waiting for.
Right, that's the one, they're actually, that vehicle is actually at MHQ now.
Right.
So we finally got.
Also, you
that.
are going to get that one.
Yeah, after
Yep.
5 months or so. And the chief itemized in his letter to the mayor, the vehicles that we did fund out of.
Yes, out of the,
Road Corps.
any other councilors have any other questions?
We don't, so we're definitely gonna give it to another department, but you don't know who yet.
What I've been doing is, we have a long list of departments that need them. So
Okay.
what's been happening with the DPW is, one was in dire need, these are people that need new vehicles. So obviously, when we can recycle, that plugs a hole. So the first was, the DPW moves them down the line, but we had Parks and Rec that was in dire need of a truck last year.
Right.
So they're gonna get one of the DPW vehicles, and then what we're hoping is that as things move down the line again, because like with Patty, they use them, they'll move them from water to sewer to highway, so we're hoping for one for our inspectors. We're in dire need of vehicles for our inspectors, our assessor's office, the data collector, and also our building inspector. We have a local inspector and a building inspector, so we need.
You'll find a vehicle.
Yes, we're in desperate need there. These offices had vehicles before. You can't blame people for not wanting to use their own vehicle. So we're really hoping to get something down the line for them.
And to that end, the Explorer, so the car 11 is the not the Explorer, the car 11 is the vehicle that's in process now. That's going to replace our Expedition, which Joe said that he has a use for. So that our Expedition will go to DPW, and then the Cruiser, car 9's replacement.
In past years, actually it was a while ago, we had one of the old cruisers that was used in the assessor's office for many years, until one time they went to pull out of the parking lot and the steering went one way and the car went the other, and it ended up coming off the road at that point in time.
That was it, huh?
So the inspector's offices, they have a need for them, and they did have them in the past, but once those were of no longer use, we've been waiting for things to trickle down. Unfortunately, some of our things either blow up, burn up, or are totaled, so they don't trickle down. But whenever they can, we need to, and especially for offices like the inspectors, because they're just in town. So it doesn't get the wear and tear, so you can really get some years out of them.
A lot more value than with the trade-in, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely.
For our
and a
city,
lot cheaper
rather.
than paying either mileage and, because we are required to pay, 50 cents a
You
mile.
won't get
People are
much with
using their own vehicles.
$120,000.
If we get $1,000, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get a lot more than $1,000 of
Absolutely.
value.
Oh, yes.
Just, I know you talked about the odometer and is the rest of the car in decent order,
Yeah,
do you think?
yeah, it's in decent shape. It would be fine for a non-emergency.
Right, not for frontline use, for
Right.
your purposes,
Right,
but,
absolutely.
thank you, that's my only question.
And again, with the police, I hate using that expression, but, thank God for drug money, because you can see what's
Right,
been
what has been
purchased.
purchased,
It's
absolutely.
really has been a huge savings to our fleet.
I'd like to make a motion.
Sure.
Approve.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second, to approve the $42,692 from free cash for police department for the purpose of a fully marked line cruiser. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
3-0. I'll set a public hearing. Is it December 4th? Can somebody look at the first Wednesday in December? Or do we have I'll set it at the next meeting. We have a meeting next week for December.
Yeah, December. Could be December 4th.
Okay, so December 2nd is the
December
next
2nd,
meeting.
okay.
So that would mean the public hearing would be at the 16th?
No, I'll set the public hearing next week.
For the December 2nd.
Oh, that's right, we're still in November, sorry.
Right, for the December.
Yeah, I'm getting old fast enough.
So the public
I'm sorry.
hearing will be for the December
December.
2nd meeting. If you can be there, Captain, that'd be good. Okay, thank you very much.
you.
Appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you.
Dave, that was their only yes of the night.
Yeah, we have a quota.
Yeah, they used up all the yeses, so.
That's why he likes to go first.
Yeah, but see, you still have a vehicle that drives. I don't.
That's not my fault. Whose fault is that?
Yours.
Thank you.
Yeah. If we could go to the old business, the first item, Chief, and it should be a fairly quick, is the supplemental appropriation for $18,000 for the protective clothing. I've already set public hearings on these 4 items for the next city council meeting, so this one will come up at the next council meeting, but we didn't actually take a vote on it. So if you just want to give us a brief, I know this is the dating of the, you can't by state regulation. I
Right.
just-
This is to replace the last, I think it's 8 sets, no, 11 sets of gear that are no longer able to be used to go to the fire academy. NFPA has a standard where any gear, any component of the gear that's more than 10 years old can't be used for live fire training. You can still use it to fight fires, but you can't use it for training, which hampers us. The problem we're in 2004, 2004, Chief Croak got a federal grant, and we bought everybody all new gear head to toe, which was great. But the bad part is,
So,
all 30 sets came to the end of their life at the same time. I've been piecemealing 2-3 sets a year on a budget. You know, they're about $1,900 a set off a state bid, so there's not a lot of room in the budget to replace them. And it's better that way because they're not all going to expire at the same time. The problem is we just had an opportunity for a fire academy live fire training class, and half the department couldn't get in now. So, and we need to move that forward and replace those, not only from a training point of view, but some of the guys' gear after 11 years is pretty beat up.
and you said this would be 11 sets?
I think it was 11
Something like
sets,
that.
yeah.
That gear is 11 years old.
Yes.
Is the 11 sets all of them, or are you staggering them?
No,
this time?
it's this will replace everybody but mine.
Okay.
So everybody will have gear that they can go live fire training with, and I can do mine next year out of budget.
Are you gonna run into the same problem 11 years from now? I mean, is it?
No, what we've been doing is we've been hiring, we've been ordering new gear,
Okay.
and I've been replacing it for the last 4 years as much as I could out of budget or what was left at the end of a year.
So this is beyond budget, this is an appropriation to accomplish what you can't do in budget.
Unless you want to, come budget time, give me 18,000 more in my budget.
That's a no.
That's our job.
That was quick.
Side question.
So
Sure,
Doug
go
asked for that.
Not quite on the subject here, but I happened to be listening to the news this afternoon and reported a Connecticut incident where a firefighter's air pack was not tested prior to a live fire, and the firefighter died.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. They were in the building, the air ran out prematurely, called for help, but didn't get help fast enough. How often do we check our?
Ours are done every year, which is the requirement.
Requirement.
Yeah, every year, the manufacturer's rep comes in and does what they call a flow test, where they make sure the right amount of air is moving, all the alarms work. Actually, ours were just done 2 weeks ago. But it's an annual requirement that they get done.
Glad to hear that.
Excuse me, can I just butt in? I'm looking for a conference room B.
Downstairs.
Downstairs, one flight down, yep.
Thank you
Go
so much.
center stairway.
There's a center stairway right here on the right-hand side, just past on the right-hand side.
Oh, thank you.
So I'll make a motion to approve this, we need to do it.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the $18,000 supplemental appropriation to purchase protective clothing for the fire department. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. I hate to keep bouncing around because it makes it hard for Councilor Riss, who's taking minutes over there, but
It's all right.
if we could bounce back up to supplemental appropriation so we can get the fire chief out of here.
Yeah, we gotta get rid of him.
And,
I've been here a while.
This is a $76,000 request for 2 vehicles. You want to purchase a Chevy Traverse SUV to replace the Ford Taurus, and a Chevy Traverse to replace the 2008 Expedition, which is recently taken off the road. And, I guess
The 2008 Taurus was my car that met its untimely demise a couple weeks ago. And it will replace the 1999 Ford Expedition that was given to us in 2007 by the town of Russell, and will also replace the 2000 Ford Taurus station wagon, which will be repurposed to another department.
2007 Taurus,
2008 was the one that met its untimely demise.
that's yours.
Yeah, the 2000 Taurus is the wagon that'll be reassigned to another city department.
I don't think Wayne's gonna want to let that go.
So we're basically replacing 3 vehicles with 2.
What was the demise?
It was involved in an accident, it was totaled.
Was, not that.
Was the driver cited?
No, the driver didn't know what happened. Next thing I knew, I was looking at the roof, I couldn't figure out what happened.
It was a 3-car,
4,
4?
because I actually hit the lady in front of me too.
Because the car hit you from behind?
Yeah, the guy behind me got hit from behind, and then I hit the car in front of me.
Multiple.
Will we get any insurance
I
on
was just
this?
going to ask
Yes.
the same question.
Karen?
How does that-
Yes.
Yes. And that,
And what we'll do is, Val will set up a special account for insurance recovery for that. And if it's timely enough, we'll be able to use that funds directly for the purchase of this. We'll put it on a purchase order. And if not, but the funds will only be able to use for that anyway. If not, they will go back into the city and come out as free, in
Right.
free cash next year.
so we should get something back.
Oh, yes, we should,
So
actually,
they
we're
can
gonna
only be
do.
used for vehicle replacement?
Yes.
In the fire department?
It'll be an insurance recovery specifically for that. The one thing, another thing that Val has done is we used to have, a lot of different accounts, miscellaneous accounts for that. She's cleaned them all up. So they do go back to the city every year, which is a good thing.
Do we have any idea what that insurance thing is, or that hasn't been set?
It's close to, like, it's in the 7,000
Oh, so it
area.
is
Yeah, so
somewhat
it looks
substantial.
like it's going to be pretty good, but it's not, I
Set in
haven't
stone.
received exactly the figure from the insurance company yet, and we haven't received anything else on the other end as to, like, they have instructions. We have to take a lot of the equipment out and, things like that. So there's charges to take things out and charges and reimbursements for things that were lost. So as to when we'll get that check, but the minute we get it, it'll be deposited into insurance recovery account specifically for that.
Go ahead.
And while we're talking about insurance, I'm sure you're probably well aware of this, but for those who may not be listening to us, oftentimes with the insurance companies, they'll adjust based on if you put in a new battery,
That's
or a new
right.
part, or new tires, or some new components of the vehicle, and they'll give you some credit on
Right.
that. On an 08
That's
Taurus,
ex-
on an 08
right.
Taurus, I'm not sure how much in
That-
general you're going to get.
That's
but
exactly
the parts,
true,
yeah.
JP. That answers the question what I was just talking to Dan. That's why it hasn't been determined. We're negotiating on different things, like,
Excellent.
lights and different things that, computers, different things that we need, and the values that we believe they are. So that's why the exact amount hasn't been determined yet, for that exact reason.
Chief, one other, how big are these Traverses? I'm not.
They're about the size, I brought a picture, they're pretty comparable in size to the Ford Explorers. Actually, when you look at wheelbase and everything, they're within inches of each other.
Okay.
With all-wheel drive?
That is a nice looking vehicle.
That's off the GM website, of course, it's gonna be.
It looks good.
Draw your
So
picture.
Can't wait to
drives
put-
this
can't wait to
beside-
put
who's the
E-stamp
other
it.
driver of this?
The other one will be for the fire inspector, because we're getting rid of the Ford Explorer that has a hole in the frame and the motor burns a lot of oil, and the Taurus wagon.
The Ford Explorer, that's the one that kind of caught fire last time you started that up. That's why
Yeah.
we took it off the, right?
We're doing well
Yes.
here. I thought it
We
was an
won't be
SUV.
recycling.
We're gonna
that
have to have the
one.
top.
That one's not going to
We're gonna have to have the top 10 cars. We have the one with the stop signs holding up the floorboard.
Yeah.
Is that
The,
the color again, too?
Yes,
Yes,
of
yeah, they only
course.
offer one shade of red.
One shade of red.
Just for the other counselors, if they ask at the, excuse me, can I-
Hi, I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
Hi. Oh,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's good. What, I just was gonna, the four-wheel drive, the all-wheel drive, the other was obviously front-wheel drive, at least the Tauruses. I would
The
take.
wagon was front-wheel drive, my car was all-wheel
All-wheel
drive.
drive, so I mean, you want the all-wheel drives much more, I would assume.
Yeah, because right now, we're going into the winter with just one all-wheel drive vehicle.
Okay, and these will hold a little bit more equipment too, if you're, I assume you're, I'm just looking for.
Yeah, it's
More
one of the
functional for the.
biggest problems, like the day of the microburst, trying to, wearing the dual hats of fire chief and emergency management director, trying to run that incident out of a laptop in the front seat of my car, it just doesn't work. Middle of the winter, having all my gear in the trunk of my car when I get to a fire scene, putting on cold gear that's been sitting in the trunk all winter, all night, is a little bit rough. Doesn't get any easier the older you get. Trying to work out of a front seat of a trunk of a car at an incident that size, working, coordinating resources, it just doesn't work. So having the extra space, and these vehicles come without the third row seating, to give more room to store equipment. Stuff that I have now currently, well, now that I'm using the pickup, it's just thrown haphazard, but trying to grab stuff out of the truck, map stuff, or trunk, maps, things of that nature was just a nightmare.
Okay. And I would assume it's not that much, I know you got it approximately the same as the Explorer, but I wouldn't think it's that much worse probably today than any of the other vehicles.
Price-wise, they're within like $200 of each other on the Plymouth County bid. The Traverses are not on the state bid, so that's why we had to go with Plymouth County bid. And this one is at a 8 to 10 week delivery instead of 8 to 10 months.
Right, as you heard the police chief, I assume you would be in the same thing. Anything else, gentlemen, or JP?
Happy to make a motion to approve. JP's ready.
I'm good.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve 2 vehicles for the fire department, and for the sum of $76,000 from free cash. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. 3-0. Again, I'll set a public hearing next week, and it'll be for December 2nd. And
Your hand just got crippled.
your other one has already been set, the fire equipment is already set for next week. So we're a public hearing. So
Thank you very much.
thank you, Chief. Okay, I guess now we can move back to old business, so we can get Patty out of here next. We have 2 items from Public Works, I think that's it. The 50,000, we'll do first the 50,000 for True Heart Drive, Adams Street Pump Station improvements. Patty, if you want to just kind of give us a little of a rundown what it involves, or...
Adams Street, they want to replace both motors in the motor control panel. The electrical panel is still inside the building. It's actually a building on Adams Street. That's the only one that's still inside. So in order, once they start changing things out, it has to come up to code.
Okay.
And to code means they would have to make it explosion-proof for the building. So they want to put it to the outside. All our other panels are on the outside and a tamper-proof stainless steel. So they're going to put it on the outside of the building.
Okay, so Adams Street is the only now self-contained, if...
It's still inside. The
Inside,
electric
so you're just
panel's
moving
in.
the panel outside, so...
Panel outside, 2 new pumps and a control.
Now, are these things that are broken down, or just sort of preventative maintenance, things that are just worn?
They want, the pumps will be a lot more efficient, and they're getting old, so before they break and then you have a catastrophe, they're trying to keep them up.
You said the panel by code must be put outside. I just
It's
catching up
not
on
even,
that.
to make it, once they, what's the word I'm looking for? Once you start to, once they start to mess with it, once you
What you do
do any
upgrade?
changes, any
Yeah.
upgrades, they would have to bring it up to code. And it's
Okay.
not up to code now, so the cheapest way is to bring it outside and get it out of the building. So all the other stations, the panels are outside.
Just I have a question. Is there anything else inside that might have to come outside in the future? Or just this is the last item?
So the pumps are
As of
inside.
now-
You certainly wouldn't want to bring up the whole building, I imagine.
No.
I imagine you looked into that, the cost of doing that.
And True Heart Drive, they want to replace the motor control panel and 2 pumps. Same thing, higher efficiency pumps, update the pumps. And the motor control panel is just what switches to turn the power on and off.
Do they have to be put outside too?
Nope, they're where they're supposed to be. I don't think that's actually a building, I think that's either the manhole one. Honestly, I haven't been out to visit. But that's not a building, I think it's a manhole in the ground and then the panels above ground.
Good.
Anything else?
I'll make a motion we approve.
I'll second.
Okay, a motion and a second to approve the $50,000 from retained earnings to capital projects for upgrades to the True Heart Drive and to the Adams Street Pump Station. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
3-0. Patty, that one's already set for next Wednesday for public hearing. If either you or Joe can do that, would be appreciated.
Can we do the water meter?
Yes, we're doing the 50,000 now for water meters. I know this has been an ongoing expense we've had for several years now, and I guess we take one step forward and a half a step back or something, or
It'll never go away.
it'll never go away till.
It'll never go away. I went back, and since 2001, capital appropriations, we've gotten $750,000. And out of budget, we've spent probably about $250,000 on water meters.
Did you happen to know how many meters that bought offhand?
Each year, it's different, because a lot of times it's just parts. Sometimes we go in, now with putting the radios on, I think we're at 23% that don't have radios now. So sometimes we can go in and just put a radio on. Sometimes the meter's not compatible, so then we have to do the meter. And so the meter's about 110, the radio's about 125, and that's only if it's a small meter. This year we had a couple of larger meters. Larger meters are a lot more money.
Are we still buying new ones, or are we to the point where we're just
Recycle.
replacing old ones?
We'll always be on that cycle. There'll always be the old ones, and it's just going to continue. I mean, there's still new construction, there's still new
Right,
things.
but as far as new
going
construction, are we caught up anyway?
Are we
Or
all
there still
radio
new
now?
people that
No,
need?
We're not-
23% aren't radio.
Aren't.
So we have
1,000
23% to still
Are not
catch up.
rated
Are
20.
not
Okay.
radio. So
So-
they still have to go up to the house
Okay.
and do a manual. So right now, we're on a kick to try to get, before winter comes, we're on a section and just trying to get the radios. So when the guys go in, they don't know if they can just put the radio on, or if they then have to change out the meter. So we just sent out a lot of letters.
So these will be trying to replace all those non-radio ones.
We don't
First.
know, because we'll get a stop meter. You know, the guys will go out and read, we'll get a zero read. So
Then you have to
get
replace that
fixed
one first.
Because that's a no read.
Oh,
before we
and
can-
you know where we're
Unless
going
it's
with
Dan's
this.
house.
Between Counselor Hagan and myself, they fix those
Oh,
meters.
yeah.
Really,
They came
really
out.
fast.
They came out and fixed
Yeah,
mine. It's
yeah.
spinning like a top.
Yeah, yeah. I was just gonna say. When
You ought to turn off your water.
It's
Yeah.
spinning like a top now.
when mine died and I called, boy, they were there really fast to fix that meter.
Now,
You
there
wouldn't
we-
want anybody thinking you were getting your water
Oh,
for free.
good graciousness.
Patty, there are charges for installation of a meter, as I
No.
recall, in terms
No.
of if you build a new house
No.
and a meter goes in, there's no charge.
No charge.
You have to
Charge
make
comes
sure.
later.
There's a water connection fee.
You're paying $1,250 to hook to the stub in the street.
Okay, that's for the stub in the street, not for the meter cost.
No, and then the only time you would pay for a meter is if you do not protect it and it freezes, then you would get charged for the meter as a frozen meter. Or
How
you
much,
left it
how much do we
outside.
charge for a frozen
Left-
meter?
No heat.
150.
$150. That happens on occasion. I
In the
imagine.
winter a
Yeah.
lot.
I
People
imagine.
just, people go away, they decide not to heat their house.
They don't heat their
We go
basement.
by, water's gushing out the back windows.
And they have a water bill that.
There they go. That's
How
saved
come
them
I
a
paid
few bucks.
Depends if
$500?
Yeah,
it's
that's
before or
the-
after the meter.
Probably the
meter shuts
150
down.
isn't gonna hurt when they get the water.
It's too frozen.
But they won't have to pay for it
Frozen.
cheap.
Yeah, we've had a lot of them.
Yeah.
A lot of people walking away from foreclosures, they just
Right.
walk away.
Right.
We go by, the meter reader can't look in the windows because they're all steamed up.
Yep.
Saves them a lot of money not shutting them off when they're away.
Any other questions on the water meters?
No.
Keep those meters going.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve $50,000 for replacement of, or continuing replacement of water meters and making them radio designed. Any further discussion? No?
Aye.
Aye.
3-0.
That's it.
Thank you.
Do we do the free?
Patty, that one's also set for next Wednesday, both are
Perfect.
public hearings, so.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Okay,
Patty.
thank you, Patty. Okay, that takes care, no, we have one more on
We want to do the 150K.
150 from free cash to capital stabilization.
I figured we'd get a big fight on this one.
We don't want you saving money, we want you to spend it.
But you know something that Barb said, I can't imagine, she said this year's free cash was one of the highest in recent years.
No.
No,
No, that's
it's
incorrect.
under $1 million.
It was
Under a
last
million.
year.
Last year, because
I thought so, yeah.
You got it, you know.
Oh, I know,
We all
I'm not,
got it.
that's why I didn't believe her. I said,
Yeah.
last year we had all that new growth. I
She
can't
meant,
imagine.
she probably meant last year.
Okay.
No, there was not. Last year was the, and you remember because last year was high because of 15 Cottage
15
and
Cottage
the.
and the all-
Yep, yep, yep. You remember
We got all
that.
this tax money,
The new growth.
one-time
Exactly. That
money.
was our biggest tax title. You
And
remember
we
all
put it in
that?
the bank.
why I
That's
said
where, and we created a capital stabilization fund with it, which we're gonna deposit
Add
into.
to, which is good.
which is good.
Do we have, I probably asked this the last time we were doing this. How much is in capital stabilization
I have all
now
my
with this?
sheets ready.
You
Here,
know?
hold on.
No?
I'll go give you a printout of everything. I have it right on my,
Well, no.
right on my
I
screen.
didn't mean to that.
No, I usually have it right with me.
7 or 8, 7?
Well, there's capital stabilization and regular stabilization. I was just
Right.
curious what they are now.
Yeah, but you might want to know what's in
This
everything.
is my one that's,
I'll give you a whole sheet. I'll
it
give you a
was like
printout.
500 that we, 550 we put in there last year, we took out 40.
I'll just give them the amounts instead of guessing at it. It's right on my screensaver.
But do you have the ability, I don't know how
You're probably
this
gonna
is.
want to know what you have left in free cash.
Right. That way it'd be,
Right.
I can use it next
Hold
week.
on.
What's the regulation, if you suddenly need to use this for something that's not capital, although I don't know what it would be, can you move this money, or are you allowed, or can the council move the money?
Yes.
In other words, don't even think about it, but yes, you can.
Capital will be,
Legally, yes.
capital will be 625 with this.
With
Okay.
this, okay.
JP, did someone say this is required by law to have a capital stabilization account?
No,
No, it's just that
we look good when we have.
stable is, you can have multiple stabilization accounts. You can
Free
vote to
cash will be
change the purpose.
634,710.
What is it?
Free cash will be 634,710, and that's after everything I've given you. That
That we've-
includes everything.
what we've already
I've
got
given
on the
you,
sheet.
Everything you've received.
Got it.
And what's regular stabilization, do you know?
Okay, one sec.
That's 1558.
You got that one? 1543?
1, 5,
You got that one, Melissa?
I have 155.
1.543 million.
1543,
That's
and
last,
change.
that was last, that's the close of last year. We've made a little money.
That's pretty good.
that's 1.5 million, right?
We have over $2 million in stabilization funds of different types.
An enterprise, 687,828.
Enterprise
687,828,
retained earnings,
yes.
what did you say, 627?
687.
687, 828. Another 6.
Pretty good. Well, I move that we spend the money instead of saving it. No.
I say we give it all to school department.
And like I said, that's with everything you have.
That's
Not-
currently
It
on.
doesn't matter whether you've approved it or not.
What's on the agenda
It's
is
all in there.
Okay, great.
So the idea
So if
behind
everything
this,
goes,
You'll still have these funds.
that's what the amounts are.
if we have an emergency fire truck, we need to replace it because we lost it completely, and you don't have free cash anymore, you'd use it if there's an emergency. That's what we use these kind of things for.
Okay.
I have no problem, I'll move that we do it.
I'm seconding this one.
And this one,
And
you'll
30, too.
have a motion, a second for $150,000 transfer from free cash to the capital stabilization fund. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that takes care of all our old business, and
How
as you
much
know,
more do
Mayor,
you
that's
wanna
already
do?
set for public hearing. So now we just have the pay plan on
all?
supplemental appropriation. Explain this, Mayor, I know it's like, or maybe Jane, I don't know who wants to explain this, but this is like 6 months, and do I remember this
Okay,
right?
what
'Cause
this
I know
is-
this one's off the,
Yeah, what this is.
I don't want to say off the cycle, but I know we always get
I'm
like
actually
half the-
sorry to say that this is 6 months behind. This would take effect January instead of what technically should have taken effect last July.
Okay.
So this should have been, I mean, wishfully would have been great if this increase could have been in the 16 budget. That's when it was due. And, but it couldn't happen in the 16 budget. So we waited for free cash, so it's basically 6 months behind.
Okay.
So it would take effect January 1st.
In
So it's not-
essence, though, this is a permanent raise because you're not gonna take it away. You give them 1.5%, it
That's
stays there.
correct.
Maybe next year, if you
That's
can, you'll do
correct.
another COLA, but this
Right,
is...
but you know, like we've been talking about trying to keep things in accordance with the labor contract, so unfortunately
I
for the
love
pay
it.
plan, they've missed 6 months
They've missed
of their
6.
increase.
Okay.
So their last increase was July of 2014. So it would have been great if we could have included this into July of this year, which would have been fiscal 16, but as you've seen with that budget, there were actually a lot of cuts and things like that, so it couldn't happen.
Why
So-
not retroactive to 32? You didn't want to do that much.
Well, it would double the amount, but, I mean,
Well, I'm just curious
Yeah.
why you didn't think to do that. I mean, you want to save the free cash?
I mean, I do think that, there were people that got kind of cut, we lost a few. Again, I'm not,
it was, there were.
I don't necessarily think that should be paid for by the pay plan people, but I mean, I do
Yeah,
think
I
it's
know.
probably, I mean, everyone's suffered. I know the fire we've settled with finally, I mean, I think everyone
see.
seems to be trying to work in the
I
city for the
understand,
best.
that
Right.
makes sense.
Right.
But certainly, I don't have a problem with this,
Well, I think it's fair, absolutely fair. I like the notion that pay plan employees feel that they're going to get, if the labor contracts are 1.5 or something similar, the pay plan employees have an advocate that's gonna, in the mayor, that is gonna try and match that. And that's important, because it's important to me that they feel as appreciated as we do our labor unions. That's my
JP, anything?
soapbox statement.
No, just listening to Dan soapbox. I'm ready to approve it.
Motion to approve,
okay, we have a-
JP.
we have a motion
Second, me.
second to approve. Any further discussion? I just have one quick comment I forgot to say. There are, pay plan people did get, if they haven't hit their maximum, did get their steps though, right? I mean-
What we have done since my administration is steps will be given when they're due,
When
which
they're
is anniversary.
So I just wanted to make sure they
Yes.
didn't also lose.
And, we're over, well, as we get a few new people, but at one time, we were already over, half of them are maxed, more than half now. But that will continue to happen until people are maxed. So at one time, sadly enough, we went 5 years without steps, and that's just not appropriate.
Yes, Steve?
I think the motion has to be amended to include the ordinance that goes with it.
Okay.
So, in other words, this is, the pay plan is
Is an ordinance. right?
an ordinance. This approves the financing for it. So I think the motion should be to approve the financing and the ordinance to affect this pay plan increase. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, we have an amended motion that this $16,000 will include both a motion for the appropriation,
Financing and-
$16,000 to finance it, and also the upgraded ordinance setting it inside to the play plan. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
And I'll set the public hearing for the
Second.
second.
Do we have anything else? Is that supposed to go upstairs?
The only other thing we have, and I left it...
Animal shelter?
This would be fast. No. Is, and maybe Jane, I know is on the board, the
That's why Jane's here.
retirement board has asked now to maybe
Oh,
provide
right.
stipends. And I only left this for general discussion because I wanted to get a little sense from the board of what we were looking for, who we wanted to come down. In other words, I think they're looking for stipends, Jane, you could create for the board members and possibly
There's 3 different categories. There's the
Okay.
board members,
yeah,
the auditor, and the treasurer.
treasurer.
The auditor and the treasurer right now are receiving $1,500.
Okay,
The board members are receiving nothing.
okay. And this would be up to, again, if we approve it, the retirement board, if I understand it, just so that we have it, and again, we'll have one more discussion on this, but we could move up, or you, not us, if we approve this, it would be up to the board, say, for the treasurer or the auditor to move them up to as much as 4,000, is it, or 4,500, or 3,000,
Board
or was there?
members can go to 4,500. The
But it has to be
treasurer
not
and
less
the
than-
auditor, I believe we're up to 3.
Would go automatically to 3, because is that, if it's approved, right, I mean,
So the way I understood it, they were looking to put all 3 categories at 3,000.
3,000.
How does this affect our budget? I know it's a tough question.
Well, I
It
mean,
would come out of retirement.
it's part of the operating budget of retirement.
So it would be more
So
than.
we would have to increase that.
You don't
We don't
do
we
that
don't-
budget. That budget is funded from the retirement board. I mean,
Okay.
it's such a small amount. I mean, I guess you could say
Small amount of unfunded liability, or increasing the
it's
unfunded.
not really, it's operating expense. It's more like what you pay for their rent. It's that kind of cost, which is part of the overall operations of the system, so they pay for their financial advisors through that, and like they submit to every winter a budget. You know, this is what it costs to have our 2 employees, to
Right.
have health insurance for our 2 employees, to rent the space that we rent, have the copier we have, 5 fax machines, that kind of thing.
But
So
I think
become
Dan
an operating
wants to
road
know
use.
where the funds, so does that increase the funds, the appropriation that we give to the retirement board every year?
Not
They
a part-
had-
it's not part of
They had
the-
figured it into this year's budget,
They already figured it in.
with the understanding that it may not be used if it's not approved, but when they were doing the budget, they've been talking about this for a while, so when they were
Well-
doing budget planning, they put it in the budget.
Do you think, Jane, this sounds like it's something we should do, they don't get anything?
Well, I'm looking at some
this
information
one,
that
definitely.
that Tina
I'm not gonna
provided,
say.
and there are 71 boards that provide stipends, and there are 31 that do not,
71 in the state.
correct?
So 71 do, that was one of my questions, and 31 don't.
Right. 48 of them are at $3,000, one is at $3,600, 3 are at $4,000, and 19 are at $4,500.
Eh, How many board members, Gene, just to...
That's total.
Myself, Jim Dunham, Don Emerson, and the new member is Connie, I can never remember his last
So
name.
4.
4 plus Val is the auditor,
Yes.
who sits on, she also.
Oh, she also...
It's okay for you and Val to get a stipend, given that you're
But-
already city employees,
but
because this is
then-
a separate, independent, I just want to make sure.
But then Melissa would make 6.
Correct.
I'm not a board member.
No, you're not a board member.
Yeah. So there, but the way it's written up in the regulations, there's the auditor section, the treasurer section, and the board member section.
Would the auditor get a stipend for being a board member and for being an auditor?
We had
or-
talked about that, and it was supposed to be that all 3 categories were going to be at the 3,000.
So she would
But
get...
she wouldn't double dip, she would be one. Right, okay.
She had requested it, but. it
All right,
was-
so that I'm
That's not how
clear,
other boards work.
Correct.
so that I'm clear, I thought you said 3,000 was what they requested, so that would mean that all 6, there's 5 technically board members, and Melissa, all 6 would receive the 3,000, not 3,000 and then an additional 1,500.
Val had
That's what I-
That's what I
discussed
wanna
that,
know.
but it
Right
was
here, this
never-
one.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, the board is, some of the board members put together stuff that they feel, we have to do a lot of training. There's a lot of continuing ed requirements for us
Mhm.
to be on the board. They felt that we also have to provide the statements of financial interest, personal, financial, and then the conferences and the board meetings is what they're like.
So there's a lot of time, a lot of training, a lot of education.
How many actual meetings, Jane, do you have?
Once a month.
Once a month.
There's 2 conferences, one in the spring, one in the fall, that are multi-day.
Okay, as I said, when I put this on the agenda, I wanted to just kind of get some general information. I think, could we have the, I don't know who's the chair of the, are you chair, or is Mr. Dunham still chair?
Jim Dunham is. He was going to be here, but he had a death in the family.
Oh,
Okay. And how about I assume I don't want to mischaracterize her job, is she the director of,
Tina?
Right. Tina
Is the
was
administrator?
on vacation today, I think.
so do you think,
So,
oh, go ahead.
have her come and provide that for us, that information.
I can copy this for you and put it in your boxes so you have it ahead of time.
Right, so I'd like at the next meeting, the next subcommittee meeting, and we're going to talk about that in a second, because Dan, I know, has got to get going. If we could have Tina and Mr. Dunham there, just to kind of go over everything, and in the meantime, I'd like to do a little research about, what the other area boards are doing.
Yep, I have it listed.
Oh,
by-
perfect, if you have that, then
Yep, I do.
that'd be great. Okay, so we'll put that over for, I'm not sure, we're going to talk about it right now. Do we need a subcommittee? You have nothing on the agenda new that I see on the city council agenda, correct?
I don't see anything here.
No,
Okay.
no, for transfers and things like that, no, I thought you kind of had enough.
So aside from this issue,
How soon do they need to know this? I mean, I don't want to hold up a raise if we're willing to do it.
Well, no, but what I was gonna propose is we probably won't have, because it's Thanksgiving week anyway, we won't have a subcommittee meeting,
All right.
but at the December second meeting, I'll set a public hearing for the second meeting in December of the council.
And we'll have a meeting, so.
And then we'll have a meeting, we will have that
Public
meeting
hearing
like
for this?
December 9th. I don't know if we.
Do we need a public hearing for this?
We'll have to check with Barbara.
Check with Barb on that, okay.
If we don't need a public hearing, maybe
Well, we won't be able to bring it
do
forward
it to the second
until
meeting
the
in
second
December,
meeting
which will get it
December,
in
either way.
place by the 1st if it's agreed upon by the council.
So I have
don't
you,
think we had to have a public hearing because the way it was discussed at the last meeting is the attorney said you can act on it or you
Absolutely.
can not act on it.
Set a public hearing.
With the full council.
No, I'm not gonna, that's why I said I was gonna set that
I
at
have
the
your next
December.
meeting for December 9, is that
It
right?
won't go to the second council meeting in December.
Are we saying December 9th?
I have you scheduled for December 9 for finance, correct?
Yes, I hope to have that meeting, the December 9th meeting, go ahead.
What you're looking at is the 23rd, maybe
23rd maybe not having, because that's the day before Thanksgiving,
Right.
so I was thinking we would
Christmas.
have.
Christmas.
I can't be
Dan
at the
can't
9th.
do the ninth.
Can you, JP? Or you wanna be here for this maybe? I think we should.
I'm
We're all
okay,
here.
I can say right now
That you-
that I'm okay with providing this raise. I think they do a lot of work, especially if 71 boards are
Because
doing
that
it.
may be, that all we have is just having Tina
It's not
come in.
unique.
and,
Right. But I can do the 9th. I can't do the 9th. I promise to go.
Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
All right, so,
You-
I'm assuming there's no more minutes, so, right?
Right. We're just checking on Dan,
Yeah,
JP.
I can do the ninth, I can right now do the 10th.
You
Well, I
wanna-
can't do anything that week.
Is that Nutcracker?
Nutcracker week.
Well, why don't we set it for the
My
9th?
30th.
Dan's sort of supportive, and we'll get all the information, hopefully, because I don't want to hold it up.
Hey,
If
you
we're
wanna be a
going to
mother
approve it,
ginger?
we'll get it done by the,
You can be a
before the
mother
first of the year.
I'm serious.
But I do want to see all the
Why don't you do it?
documentation.
A what?
I'm not a ginger.
A mother ginger? I don't know what mother ginger is.
Oh,
Anything else,
Michael
Jane,
did
you
it
want
for
to
me.
say before we depart?
I'll get you.
And you will get us those things, just put them in there?
Copies, yep.
Perfect.
You sit in a big.
Motion to adjourn,
So move.
okay. Motion to adjourn.
We had a couple of Congress, not Congress,